Hi Claire, how's it going? Congratulations on 300 subs. That is awesome. I remember when I first hit 100 subs, I was just dumbfounded. I was like, 100 people actually subscribed to my channel. Then the 200 mark, I was like, whoa, 300, I was completely blown away. So I know exactly how you feel. And believe me, the subs are going to keep on coming because you're a very cool person. And your whole presence is really a welcome thing in this community. So here's to the next 300 and beyond. Um, as for your questions, why did you start on YouTube and what prompted you to make the first video? And I guess that's two parts of one question. So let me roll with that first part. Why did I start with YouTube? I was watching YouTube for a while, pretty much like you did. I was just looking for, crazy stuff and things that were funny. And every once in a while, I would look for a review on a movie that might be coming out, and I thought that it was cool that people were able to give like their opinions and stuff. But every once in a while, I would run past this one channel, and the channel was by a guy who goes by the name Cool Duder, and I'm sure a lot of people know that name. A lot of people here know that name, Cool Duder. Um, he was doing some kind of talk on some movies that he had, and excuse me, it is really warm in here. God. He was doing some talk about a movie that he had, and I knew the movie very well. I can't remember what movie it is now. It was a while back. I've been on here maybe about 2, 3 years. So I don't remember what movie it was, but I remember he left a lot of facts out about it. He didn't know much about the movie, and well, to me anyway, I thought there was like a lot of interesting facts that he had left out. And he kind of shrugged his shoulders, like, well, I don't know why they did that or did that. And I'm like, I know why they did that. So I was thinking, man, this, and I saw his viewer count, and I was like, wow, a lot of people watch his videos. I said, but he's like only giving them half the information. Now I'm not saying he's a bad reviewer, and I'm not saying that he doesn't know what he's talking about. I on this one particular moment, I had like this thing where I'm like, well, I can give information like that, and it's something I'm very, I'm really into. Horror is kind of like my life's blood, no pun intended. I like all genres of movies. I really do. I love movies in general. But horrors, as you can see, is where it's at for me. So then I found out later that Cool Duder is actually a kind of a big name amongst the B movie hounds. He does a lot of bit parts and some major parts, I guess, in some of the B movies. So I was like, oh, he's an actor. Ah, now I know. I right off the bat, I cannot remember his name to save my life. I must have seen his name about 1,000,000 times, and right now I can't recall his name. But yeah, that's kind of what got me started trying to do the YouTube thing. I saw that someone else was doing that, and I saw how many people were giving their opinions. And back then, YouTube was very easy to get on. You just kind of give a name, a password, and you're ready to roll. Now you have to go through a few steps. But I think if it would have been like it is now back then, I probably wouldn't be on here now. Because I tried making another channel recently, and it was like too many steps, too much crap. But I'm glad I got to keep this channel. So that's pretty much what got me started with YouTube. But what prompted me to make my first video, I didn't have a lot to talk about. I mean, like I said, I love to talk about horror movies, but it's different when you're talking to a camera rather than with another person. Another reason that I started with YouTube to give my opinion on movies was because I didn't know a lot of people that liked movies like I did, or liked the movies that I did. So I didn't have a whole lot of people to talk to. I mean, I usually just stayed in my house, and in my house I had my wife and my 2 kids. My wife likes certain movies, but she's not into the movies that I'm into, not really. Only one or two. My kids, they could care less. So really didn't have anybody to bounce like, ideas off of or opinions. So yeah, that was another reason I wanted to do videos on YouTube, because I figured, everybody here comments on their stuff, and they talk back and forth, and they exchange ideas, and I thought that was really cool. The first video that I did, I think I recorded like 2 videos. God, I'm so sorry. I think I recorded like 2 videos, but I didn't post them. They were like way too dark. I didn't know, I had never really shot a video like that before, so they were like in a room with really bad lighting. You could barely make out my face, and maybe that's kind of a blessing for some, but so I had to reshoot it. And I think the first video I posted was old school VHS. I think that was the one I did. I dug out some of my old VHS tapes and showed them off. In the beginning, I did show kind of a mixture of movies. I showed, when I would buy stuff, I would show them off. I would show the stuff that I would buy. And it wasn't always horror. Sometimes I had like some kung fu movies, uh, maybe some action once in a while. But mainly it was horror movies. And then I would do like some rants and, my ideas, my feelings on movies at the time. And then I finally did a review for a movie. And I was like, well, this is what it's about right here, is to do the reviews. So but what prompted me to do my first video was that I started the channel but had nothing on there, and I needed to talk about something, so I didn't really have money to go out and buy anything to show off, and I really didn't have a movie in mind that I could really talk in depth about that hadn't been talked about 100 times before. So that's why I dragged out the VHS tapes. And I said, well, let me just share what I got here and see what people say. So I think that was the first video I made that I actually posted, and that was the old school VHS one. And your other question, favorite horror movie. Now, this is always a question I like to answer. I love answering favorite horror movie, favorite dialogue, things like that. And I hope this doesn't like make my entry null and void, but I have 2. It's very hard for any fan of horror to pick that one favorite one. Like, if they could never watch another horror movie again, they have to have this one movie. I don't think anybody has such a movie, and if they do, I congratulate them, because I can't come up with just one. I can't. But I do have it narrowed down. God, is it that hot in my apartment? I think it is. I have it narrowed down to 2, and there's reasons for both of these, okay? The first one is this little gem. Night of the Living Dead, the original George A. Romero Night of the Living Dead. Why is this one of my favorites? Well, I'll tell you. I saw my first horror movie when I was 3 years old. It was a movie called It's Alive. I saw it in the drive-in with my parents. I had no idea what I was watching. I had no idea a horror movie from an action movie. No idea. Didn't understand what was going on. I just know there was a lot of blood and didn't know why. It didn't scare me. I didn't even care about it really, but that was the first horror movie I ever saw. But when I was 6, I got up after lights out. Everybody was asleep in my house, and I woke up and I couldn't go back to sleep. And I turned on the TV, and I turned it on real low. Real low. It was a black and white TV set. And I turned it to one of the channels real quiet so I didn't wake anybody up. This movie was showing. I changed it right at the part where he said, "They're coming to get you, Barbara." I remember that was the first thing I saw, and I'm like, he looks kind of weird, and he sounds kind of scary. What's going on here? And then I saw she was getting attacked by a zombie, but I didn't know what a zombie was at the time. I just thought she was being attacked by some man. And I'm like, well, why is he attacking her? What's he doing? And then as the movie progresses, it started getting really tense, the whole chase scene. And I was like, what? Is she going to get away from that man? Oh, man. And then when they got in the house, they're searching around. They showed the skeleton at the top of the thing, and it freaked me out. I was like, oh, no. And I was looking around the house like, someone's going to come get me. But let me put this down. The next day at school, I couldn't wait to tell my friends what I had seen. And I told them, and then he was all in blood, and they took his face off, and then they were reaching through the windows, and the girl stabbed her mom, and there was blood everywhere. And they were like, I'm like, no, really, there was. And some of the ones didn't believe me, they kind of walked away, but the ones who were gripped by what I was saying was all like this. And when I saw that, when I saw how my very bad translation of this movie had them gripped, I knew that I found something that I really liked. I loved the attention that I got from telling them about horror movies. And I figured, if I had told them about any of the other movies at that time, like Smokey and the Bandit, stuff like that, they wouldn't have cared. They would have laughed maybe, but horror was like I was tapping into their deepest, darkest fears, and for that brief moment, I controlled them, and it felt good. It was like power tripping almost. So after that, I couldn't get enough horror. I kept looking for every horror movie I could find. Anytime I could watch it on TV. Back then, VHS rental wasn't a big thing. You either had cable TV or you had regular TV. And cable TV didn't have that many channels either. So I had friends maybe that had cable, and I'd get to watch a movie there. Or it was usually just like late night creature feature type movies. And that's where I saw some of the monster movies like Dracula, the old Universal monster movies. And I still told my friends what I saw, and they're like, "Oh, man, that's crazy! You're scaring me! Stop!" I couldn't get enough of that. That was such a rush. So this movie, I credit as being the movie that made me a horror fan, and this is why it shares the coveted spot of my favorite horror movie. The second favorite horror movie, I can't. They're like deadlocked right there for two different reasons, but I do have reasons for both of them. One, first one that made me a horror fan, but this second one, Phantasm. My mother went to go see this movie one time, and she came back, and much like I would do to my classmates, she started telling me about the movie and had me just completely under her control. I'm like, really? Then what happened? And she just had me like, I had all these images in my head of what she was telling me about this, and I couldn't really imagine what she was saying, but I had to see this movie. I mean, I would draw pictures on paper of the stuff she told me just from what she told me, and I was a little off on some of them, I have to admit. But I said, well, I want to see that movie too. And she said, oh, no, 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 no. You're not going to see that. You're too young for that. Foul, man. How are you going to tell me, how are you going to hype up a movie like that and then not let me go see it? That is foul. And I went and I told her like 3 or 4 days in a row, Mom, please take me to see Phantasm. I want to see it. Even the name was scary. You know what I mean? So she just denied me, left and right. She didn't take me. But then the summer came, and I got to go visit Dad. Dad got his summers with me, and that lucky guy. And the first day I was there, he says, "Yeah, what do you want to do, boy?" And I said, "Let's go to the movies." And he goes, "All right, that paper. Tell me what you want to see." I'm doing a very bad dad impersonation. He's very very West Virginian. Um, just says all instead of oil, that kind of thing. Anyways, he says, pick out a movie you want to see, and I looked in the paper, and there it was. Back when the ads for the movies were really cool. Remember those? Might be before your time, but his ad about this big, Phantasm, and I saw it, and I go, I want to see that. He goes, all right. No argument whatsoever. The old man didn't care what I watched. He just wanted to keep me entertained, so I'd shut up. And I remember that we saw 2 other movies with it. There was Jennifer, I believe, and for sure, Seven Brothers versus Dracula, which was a rename, an American rename from Legend of the Seven Golden Vampires. It was a Hammer film, Kung Fu and Vampires. It was fun. But then Phantasm came on. That first droning note, and then that just slowly appeared and read Phantasm. And I was just my mind was just racing with all the things I was about to see. And it didn't disappoint. Why is it my favorite? Why is it the second half of my favorite movies? Because this movie is the first horror movie. I remember I became a horror fan at 6, been seeing them since 3, but this was the first one at the age of 9 that scared me to the point of sleeplessness. I didn't sleep at night for about a week. I fought tooth and nail to stay awake until the sun came up, and then I knew it was safe to go to sleep. This movie did that to me, and no movie has done that since. So, major props to Phantasm for that one. So there you have it. My favorites: Night of the Living Dead, the one that started it all, and Phantasm. Thank you so much, and here's a hearty good luck to all the other entries, and good luck to you as well, Claire. I'm sure you're in for loads of fun, and can't wait to get to know you a little better and kind of bounce some back and forth off you about horror movies. Always love doing that. Always love doing that. So don't feed the trolls, and take care, and I will be talking with you soon. Thanks.